Okay, that looks like we did it. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And here we are, October 27th in Asia. See what we have. Oh, this is an interesting one. Merit, demerit, and liberation. Yes, perform good deeds, but know there is more involved in the soul maturing process, leading to freedom from rebirth. So this one is, I think I brought it up early in the cycle. Last week we did what is the Hindu concept of hell? So this week we're doing what is the Hindu concept of heaven. Even though it wasn't a question, I asked it myself. I thought it'd be interesting to do them back to back, and this pub desk relates to that. What is the Hindu concept of heaven? In Hinduism, human conduct is summed up by two salient terms, papa and punya. What is the meaning of papa? Sometimes also papam. That's an easy one. Papa refers both to unethical action and the demerit earned through wrongdoing. Indian texts provide various lists of wrongful actions. Among all transgressions, injuring others, hinsa is considered the most serious offense. Conversely, refraining from injuring others, called ahimsa, is the foremost virtue. Mahabharata extols its supremacy. Ahimsa is the highest dharma. It is the highest purification. It is also the highest truth from which all dharma proceeds. In Ashtanga Yoga, the idea of avoiding wrongdoing is called yama or restraint. Sage Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras lists 5 famed restraints, of which ahimsa is the first. So that leads up to our next question. How would you define ahimsa? It's spelled with an M, but it's pronounced with an N. That just sounds good. An excellent definition of ahimsa is found in the Sandilya Upanishad. Ahimsa is not causing pain to any living being at any time through the actions of one's mind, speech, or body. Oh, that's a beautiful definition. The text is pointing out that virtue is not limited to injuring others with one's body, which is the case in some ethical systems, but also one's speech and even one's thoughts. Strong negative thoughts negatively impact other people, make it hard for them to be successful. So subtle is this transgression that one is admonished for hurting someone even in a dream. Gurudeva talks about that. Your conduct has to be perfect even in a dream, eventually. Common justification for resorting to violence is in retaliation for injuries inflicted on you. Key word there, retaliation. injuries inflicted on you, members of your family, your religion, or nation. Many in the world today believe that it is in those instances retaliation is not only permitted, it is one's duty. Hinduism does not support this eye for an eye mentality. In fact, our oldest scripture, the Rig Veda, speaks against it. Return not blow for blow, nor curse for curse, neither meanness for base tricks, shower blessings instead. And then we're moving on to the next one. What is the meaning of Punya? Punya, virtuous action, and the merit earned through right thought, word, and action. As we know, 21st century society is highly materialistic. Hindu youth are growing up with worldly, self-oriented motivations, wealth, career, name, and fame. For the greater good, this materialistic tendency should be balanced by helping others, adopting the Hindu perspective of how can I support others. As I jokingly say in my talks, 2 Mercedes in the family garage is enough, meaning we want to be surrounded by quality possessions, but having no limits on luxuries, one enters a slippery path of self-indulgence. Turns out the happiest among the wealthy are those who use their abundance for high purpose and avoid excessive gratifications. The noblest among them are turning their immense wealth over to humanitarian causes. Oh, this is an old example. Really need to update it. For example, Bill Gates, one of the world's richest men, founded the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to improve health care and reduce poverty worldwide. He has stated that wealthy people have a responsibility to use their resources to make the world a better place. A second way to earn punya is selfless service or seva, which is traditionally done at a temple or ashram. For example, helping with the many tasks involved in preparing for a festival. In modern cities, this approach may not always work, especially when traveling from home to a temple or ashram takes a long time. There is a solution: broad and selfless service to include helping others wherever we are, at home, work, school, in the neighborhood, and community. In its broadest sense, seva includes anything we do to help others that we are not being paid to do or don't have to do. Our recompense is goodwill, merit, and good karma. Sanskrit term that describes the earning of punya, merit, is ishtapurtam. Swami Harshananda, in his concise Encyclopedia of Hinduism, gives this explanation. The term refers to the cumulative spiritual result of merit. The cumulative spiritual result or merit due to a man's performance of ritual worship and charitable acts. So 2 sources: ritual worship and charitable acts. Ishta includes all types of ritual worship, including the gifts given during its performance. Purta indicates the various acts of charity and public utility, such as building and dedicating of deep wells for the good of the public, building temples and gardens, free distribution of food, giving gifts, nursing the sick, and many other acts of charity sanctioned by the holy texts. Swami Harshananda mentions a second tradition, the way of earning punya, which is sponsoring ritual worship, including yajna or fire ritual, often conducted by many priests for the upliftment of the world. Positive force invoked by such elaborate worship blesses those attending and benefits all creatures. A popular concept in Hinduism and other religions too is that if we live virtuously, earning abundant punya, then after our transition from life on earth, we will permanently reside in the heaven worlds. Sounds good, right? Mundaka Upanishad decrees this concept to be false. While the punya earned by Ishta and Purta does grant access to the heaven worlds, eventually that punya is used up and the soul is reborn once again. This verse explains, these deluded men regarding sacrifices and works of merit as most important do not know any other good. Having enjoyed in the high place of heaven won by good deeds, they enter again this world or a still lower one. So punya runs out like a tourist visa. Can only stay a certain amount of time. You're not a permanent resident yet. What is it then that grants the soul freedom from rebirth? Paramatma Darshana, the Jivatma experiencing itself as Paramatma, in the state of jnana, enlightened wisdom. Thus we can say that the fruit of jnana is moksha, total liberation from the cycle of birth and death on earth. So of course, all Hindu denominations don't agree on this, but this is one of the common viewpoints, and is the viewpoint of our tradition, really the viewpoint of Advaita. Advaita traditions would all have this in mind, be they Saivite or Vedanta. Whereas Vaishnava traditions, being Dvaita, have a different concept. Gurudeva gave a succinct description of this idea. Deep inside, we are perfect this very moment, and we have only to discover and live up to this perfection to be whole. We have taken birth in a physical body to grow and evolve into our divine potential. We are inwardly already one with God. Our religion contains the knowledge of how to realize this oneness and not create unwanted experiences along the way. So that's always important to remember. In our terminology, we say the nucleus of the soul, or the core of the soul, is always one with God, in God's aspects of pure consciousness and transcendent reality, not of course as Parameshvara, primal soul. So it's always the truth. We just can't access that part of us that is always one with God. Hinduism is learning how to access. The Hindu practices are allowing us to eventually access that part of us. But it's there all the time. In his talks on how we can grow and evolve into our divine, Ian talks on the idea of how we can grow and evolve into our divine potential. I use the analogy of dance, which we all know. What is needed most for youth to become good at Hindu classical dance? And the answer, of course, is practice. Reading books about dance won't make you a good dancer, nor will attending classes without practicing what you have learned. Regular disciplined practice is needed. Likewise, to grow and evolve into our divine potential, to manifest our inner perfection in our outer intellectual and instinctive nature, requires regular practice called sadhana. In dance, it is clear you need to start with making the body strong and limber. Then you systematically master the various movements, positions, gestures, and expressions, combining them to perform simple dances. After that, more and more complex dances can be perfected. We can think of the basic practices of selfless service and devotional worship as equivalent to the simpler dance steps. These steps are important, but are not the entirety of the path to complete mastery. Philosophically, their practice creates a dualistic relationship with the deity called Dvaita. There are always two of you, the devotee and the deity, who is the object of your worship. Meditation, a further step, is a deeper type of practice. In its most profound form, there are no longer two. You and the deity are the same. However, it is not the personal God that you are one with. It is the impersonal aspect of God, Satchidananda, or omnipresent consciousness. There is an even deeper experience, which is oneness with the transcendent source of Satchidananda. In philosophical terms, this experience is non-dualism, called Advaita in Sanskrit. It is a state of the Jivatma experiencing itself as Paramatma. This is Paramatma Darshana, self-realization. Back to Mundaka Upanishad. Taking as a bow the great weapon of the Upanishads, one should place in it the arrow sharpened by meditation, drawing it with a mind engaged in the contemplation of that, Brahman. O beloved, know that imperishable Brahman is the target. The syllable Om is the bow, oneself indeed is the arrow. Brahman is spoken of as the target of that. It is to be hit without making a mistake. Thus one becomes united with it as the arrow becomes one with the target. Conclusion. Good works are needed to control the mind and enter deeper states of consciousness. They are fundamental steps on the spiritual path. While one is creating papam, he cannot really meditate. Mind is always disturbed. Karmas pile up, consuming mind and emotions, creating barriers, boulders, life after life. Deep meditation comes only when the mind is clear, the heart is pure. Actions of past and present are resolved, and dharma is fulfilled. Yes, perform good deeds, but know there is more involved in the grand soul maturing process leading to liberation. End of first topic. And our second topic, 64 character qualities from a character building workbook. We're in the D's. Discretion is the 21st character quality. And question to you, how would you define discretion? Workbook gives this definition. Discretion means being tactful and prudent in one's conduct and speech. I express it by honoring others' privacy, and handling delicate situations with prudence and diplomacy. The opposite is indiscretion. Confidentiality is keeping confidences or information told in trust. Secret, not divulging private or secret matters. You cultivate confidence by not prying or seeking to know information, by keeping records, notes, and other material entrusted to you securely protected, by not reading material or listening to conversations known to be private. Reflection. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in discretion. And our third topic, satsang@hindu.org. So I sent in this question myself. What is the Hindu concept of heaven? To balance out last week's what is the Hindu concept of hell? And the same question as last time. Is heaven a place, a state of mind, or both? And of course the answer is, just like hell, that it's both. The Antar Loka, meaning the astral plane, spans the spectrum of consciousness from the hellish Naraka regions, beginning at the Patala Chakra within the feet, to the heavenly realm of divine love in the Vishuddha Chakra within the throat. Same quote as last time. As the Mundaka Upanishad pointed out, heaven, referring to the higher astral plane, is not eternal. Souls in that realm reincarnate in the physical world. However, the heaven of the causal plane is different. Gurudeva explains. So, Karana Loka versus Antar Loka. Astral plane versus causal plane or Shiva Loka. The causal plane or Shiva Loka pulsates at the core of being, deep within the subtle plane. It is a superconscious world where the gods and highly evolved souls live and can be accessed through yoga and temple worship. The causal plane is the world of light and blessedness, the highest of heavenly regions. So not the only heavenly region. There's also heavenly regions, as we pointed out, in the high end of the astral plane. So this is the highest of heavenly regions, extolled in the scriptures of all faiths. It is the foundation of existence, the source of visions, the point of conception, the apex of creation. The causal plane is the abode of Lord Shiva and his entourage of Mahadevas and other highly evolved souls who exist in their own self-effulgent form. Radiant bodies of centillions of quantum light particles. Even for embodied souls, this refined realm is not distant, but exists within man. It is ever present, ever available as the clear white light that illumines the mind. So that's it as a state of mind. Access within the throat and cranial chakras, Vishuddha, Ajna, and Sarasvara, in the sublime practices of yoga and temple worship. It is in the causal plane that the mature soul, unshrouded of the physical body's strong instinctive pulls and astral body's harsh intellectual stranglehold, resides fully conscious in its self-effulgent form. Shiva Loka is a natural refuge of all souls. The Vedas intone, where men move at will in the threefold sphere, in the third heaven of heavens, where are realms full of light, in that radiant world, make me immortal. So, my comment is, it is only when a soul resides in the causal plane, the Shiva Loka, that the soul does not reincarnate. And thank you very much. Oh.